Hello, it's Adam from CleaR Motorsport here. I'm just going to show you around the strut brace brackets that I produce for the Mazda MX-5 Mk4. Now these allow you to fit a front strut brace, like I've got on my car here, to a car that doesn't already have the mounting studs built into the scuttle panel. So some of the cars come with like a black panel underneath where the wipers and stuff are, that has a horizontal plate with a vertical stud poking out, and that allows you to mount a strut brace. But the UK 1.5 cars and obviously other ones around the world don't have that available. So instead of replacing that scuttle panel and swapping it for one that's virtually identical, you can put these little gadgets on, and I believe that it works slightly better than the OEM part anyway, simply because your load path is directly through the strut brace, and then one of these is in compression and one of them in tension, rather than having these two sort of horizontal beams, for want of a better word, in sort of cantilever. Second thing to mention is it actually bolts through the chassis and the scuttle panel, and ties those two together as well. So fingers crossed you'll end up with a slightly stiffer front end, and it just kind of removes that sort of shimmy feel that you get over bumps. Really surprised how much difference that part made to my car. So definitely worth fitting if you're keen. So I'm just going to demonstrate fitting one of these. Dead straightforward, only takes a few minutes. The kit comes with obviously a left and a right. I'm just going to show you the left hand side for now. And all of these fixings are doubled up. So there's two short bolts, one longer big chunky bolt, and then a threaded tube. Tools required: 10mm socket, 17mm socket, 17mm spanner. Dead straightforward. I'm just going to refit mine rather than using a brand new one. So let's use the top of the engine like everybody seems to do when they're working on cars. First thing to do is looking underneath the seal here for the bonnet. You've got a 10mm nut holding on the back pipe, and then two 10mm nuts that hold the scuttle panel into the chassis. I'm just going to take those out. I'll go with that one first because I've got a little tip for those other ones. So we are going to reuse this nut and also one of those two bolts down there. So put those just to one side and have them handy. So what I found on mine is there seems to be some sort of foam between the black scuttle panel and the chassis here. So sometimes when you're trying to thread the bolts back in and pull them out, it can kind of rise up and bind. But if you put some weight down on top here, it just helps to loosen off the bolts, and then they should spin out nice and freely. So these have already been out before, so they should be nice and free. Yeah, just whiz them out by hand. So the first step to assembling everything will be to put this little threaded tube in as a spacer for the back line. So what we do is put this nut that you've taken off this stud, put that back on first. Doesn't need to be tight, just screw it on by hand, seat it down. Then screw on your little threaded tube. And then one of the bolts you've taken out of here, we're now going to use to hold your back line in place, but it's spaced away from the firewall by about an inch or so, and that just gives you the right amount of clearance for these brackets that I've made, and it allows the brackets to be slightly beefier than they would have been if we didn't have the spacing. So we'll go with the two bolts into the firewall first, and these are made with a slot and a slot, so you have kind of an X and a Y and a Z adjustment there available, which makes it nice and easy to fit. It's a little bit fiddly. Once you get one bolt started, it's nice and easy from there. There we go. So I'm just going to have to put a bit of pressure down, and once you put the pressure down it clears nicely. Put the second bolt in. Get the pressure down again, and I'll show you here. You've got kind of a movement that way, and then when we look through the top hole there, hopefully you can see that you have got a bit of movement fore and aft as well. So the bolt and all the nuts and stuff and washers I'll supply in the correct order. So pop the nut off. If you leave the large washer and one of the small washers on the bolt, drop that in top, poke it through the strut brace, washer, nut on the bottom. Now at this point you may see that the bracket doesn't quite meet the bottom of the strut brace completely flush. That's okay, it'll pull itself into shape. But if you just snug the bolts down by hand here, line that up so the edge of the strut brace should be on the same radius as the edge of the bracket. Hold that in place and grab your ratchet. Knit these down. Technically probably about 6 to 8 Newton meters, but again just a sensible knit will be absolutely fine. bolts have got serrations under the head as well, so they bite into the bracket nicely. And then grab your 17mm ratchet and spanner. Spin away, nice and tight, 45 Newton meters. And there we go, nice and solid. Enjoy your new tight feeling front end. Cheers.